Begin today the Gemara on the Vav Amud Aleph, 6 lines down from the top of the Amud. V'heicha shaminan. The Gemara here is discussing the different shades of colors that there are for the Negayim. We're discussing 4 colors, and there are 2 opinions about how the order of these colors go. Now, what's the significance of the order? Because when you have the mat of the nega, what's the size of a nega? Kigris, which is a kind of bean, just about the size of a dime or a little smaller. What happens if you have within that color of the nega 2 shades of white? Could you be mitzaref? Could you combine 2 shades of white? So the Gemara before brought yes, but it's a machlokes which colors can be combined with each other. According to what it says in the Mishnah, the first Mishnah Masechta Negayim, there's an Av and a Tilde which combine. But according to Rabbi Akiva, it doesn't go by Av and Tilde. It goes by the actual brightness of the white, the order of the brightness of the color of the white. Okay, so what are the 4 colors that we had before? There's the Beheres and the Se'ez. The Beheres is white like snow, Kisheleg. The Se'ez, which is another Av, is white like wool. And then you have the Tilde of the Beheres, which is white like lime, Sida Heichel. And then the Tilde of the Se'ez is white like Krum Beya, the membrane of the egg. So according to the Mishnah in the beginning of Negayim, so you match up, the tziruf of these colors is the Av and the Tilde. That's the whiteness of the snow together with the whiteness of the lime of the Heichel, even though those are not the 2 that are one below the other in the brightness of the color. But that's the Av and its Tilde, and then the other Av and its Tilde. But according to Rabbi Akiva, the Gemara said it goes differently. It goes Zula Maila Mizu. What is mitzaref with another color? In the order of its brightness. So then the order would be different. There's snow, then afterwards the color below that is white like the wool, then the color below that is like the lime, and then the color below that is like the membrane of the egg. It doesn't go with Av and Tilde. It goes by the brightness. That's the Chiddush of Rabbi Akiva's opinion, and therefore he disagrees with the Mishnah in the beginning of Masechta Negayim. So here the Gemara will bring the source of Rabbi Akiva's opinion. So the Gemara, V'heicha shaminan l'Rabbi Akiva zu l'mayla mizu. Where do we find that Rabbi Akiva said this? That the colors that are mitzaref with each other goes by the brightness, one above the other. If you'll say it's Mahad Tanya, it's from this Braise here. Rabbi Yossi said, Shal Yeshua b'noi shel Rabbi Akiva me Rabbi Akiva. Yeshua, which is the son of Rabbi Akiva, he asked his father. So Rashi says, which Yeshua is this? This is Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. Even though it says his name is always named as Ben Karcha, but Ben Karcha was his father, Rabbi Akiva, and the reason is because Rabbi Akiva was called sometimes a Kireach because he was bold. So he was called Karcha. So he got this name, Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. Interesting. But this was Rabbi Akiva's son. So he asked his father, Rabbi Akiva, Mipnei ma omru mares negoyim shnayim shehein arba. Why do Chazal say that the colors of the Negayim are 2, that are 4, and they give the names for the different colors? There's the Se'ez, there's the Beheres, and this is like snow, this is like Tzemet. Why give all these colors? Why is it necessary? Amaloi. So Rabbi Akiva says to his son, what exactly is your question? V'im lav, if they're not going to give these 4 colors and their names and so on, ma yoimru, how is it that they should have taught these 4 colors? So Rabbi Yeshua said, Yoimru, they should say, Mikrum beyo l'mayla tome. They should have said the color that's the least white, like the membrane of the egg, from that color and anything above it would be tome. So then you would understand already that that's the least white of a color that makes it tome, and then anything above is obviously brighter, more white, it's going to be tome. That's the best way to teach this. And Rashi here says, because it says that Lo'elam yishna adol matalmidei derech kitzara. You're supposed to teach in the most clearest and shortest fashion, so why make things complicated? There's 2, which is 4, and then give a bunch of different names to the colors. Just say one color, and then you understand everything else that's even brighter than that, in the whiteness of it. So Rabbi Akiva answers his son, now, it's saying these different colors because it wants you to understand that you could combine one level of whiteness with the other. So you have to know what the colors are to know what combines with what. So Rabbi Yeshua asks his father, but if so, still, they don't have to say all these colors as it was said. They should say, Mikrum beya olamayla tome, from the lowest level of white, from the krum beya and above is tome. It starts from zemzeh, and they combine with one another. And that would be enough to clarify both halachas, that the lowest level of white is the krum beya, and then also the halacha that they're mitzaref with one another. Why does it have to? So again, his question remains: why do you have to say all these colors?
What's exactly the question?
It's not extra to say that there's all the different colors that it's saying. The Gemara is going to clarify everything soon. Coming, 1 second. But he's saying that if you want to say the 2 points, that there's the least white, which is krum beya, and then you have the other levels of white that go above it, a little more bright, a little more bright, a little more bright. And so then, okay, so you say there's the lowest level of white, and then there's obviously the colors that are brighter than that, and mitzvah from zeh, and one combines with the other, and that would be understood. So, Amaloi, so Rabbi Akiva answered, you're right, really, for the actual halacha, that's what could have been said, but loy malacha, the reason why they gave all these names, it's to tell you that kol kayin she'einu baki behenu b'shmeiseyan, a kayin that's not proficient in the colors of the negayim and in their names, einu rayis hanegayim. He can't see the negayim, he can't analyze the nega to paskin whether it's tamei or tar, because he doesn't know the halachas properly. So they gave these names in order to see who is someone that's studying this properly, to know that he's able to see the negayim. Even though it says here in the Gemara that it's the kayin that has to be the baki to be able to see the negayim, but in halacha it says that, this is what the Gemara means over here, that it's not the kain necessarily that has to see and analyze the nega. Anybody, any chacham could come and analyze the nega. The kain is the one that has to say tamei or tar. That could be even a kain that knows nothing. It could be even a kain that's a child. But it means the one that's going to be looking at the nega to see what the halacha is, has to be someone that's proficient in the halachas of negayim, that he has to know them and the names. Okay, so now till here is the lashon of the Braisa. So now the Gemara says, what exactly is it that Rabbi Yeshua told his father? What would it be enough to say? He said that you could say the krum beya, and that everything is mitzdaref with each other, and that's it. You don't have to say anything else. So now Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha did not say that it also should mention, that it also would be necessary to say misid heichal ulamayla lekamar. He didn't say that you would have to say misid heichal ulamayla. There's the color of the nega, which is like lime, and then what's above it, and then there's the krum beya, like the membrane of the egg, and what's above it. That he didn't say. What does the Gemara mean to say here? If Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha would understand that according to his father's opinion, the way the colors of the negayim are mitzaref with each other is not by the shades of the colors, that whatever is brighter is mitzaref with the one above it, only with the one above it, and it goes in the order of the brightness. But that the way it works is that one av has its tilde and another av has its tilde. So then, how's he saying to his father that it could just simply say krum beya and then whatever is lamaila? It's not whatever is lamaila. That's not how it's mitzaref, one that's above the other. You have to explain that there's the av and its tilde and an av and its tilde. It's not according to the order of the brightness. The sida heichal is mitzdaref dafke with beheres, which is white like snow, and krum beya is mitzdaref dafke with the se'es, which is white like the wool. So then it's not enough just to say krum beya. So that's what he should have said to his father. Right? So as Rashi explains, if you would follow that understanding of the Mishnah, that there's the av and its tilde and the av and its tilde, if it would say krum beya and mashal amayla, and then it would say sid heichel mashal amayla, you would understand this order of the av and the tilde, according to what it says in the Mishnah. But that's not what he said. He said that it's enough to say krum beya, and then that umitztarfim zemzeh. Why? Why is he saying this? Because from that you would understand, like Rabbi Akiva's opinion, that how are they mitzdaref? They're mitzdaref, each one with the level of whiteness that's above it. That's how it's mitzdaref. That's one point. But then there's also another point, which the Gemara says over here. And this is what was mentioned before in the Gemara in the beginning of this Amud, that, okay, so let's see, the Gemara explains, Midoloi Omale. So from the fact that he doesn't mention, besides the Krum Beya, he doesn't mention that it also has to say that the Misid Heichel Elamayla. Shmamina, from here you see, the Shmiel Leila Rabbi Akiva, that Rabbi Akiva's opinion is, the Amar, Kulo Lebahadi Seis Mitzdarfen, that all colors are mitzdarev with the Seis. Okay, so this is a second point according to Rabbi Akiva's opinion. The Gemara brought before that Rabbi Akiva holds two things about the colors of the negayim that are mitzdaref with each other. One point is that each color could combine with the color that's right above it, not with two colors above it. It's one point. Another point is because in the pasuk when it says se'es, which is the color of tzemer, like wool, afterwards it says in the pasuk vilasapachas, which is a tilde. From that you learn that this se'es, any color below it is mitzdaref with the seis. Whether it's like sida heichal, whether it's like the krum beya, whatever color it is mitzdaref with the seis. And therefore he says krum beya, and then mitzdarefim zeh. what you see by that is that the colors are mitzdaref, each one with the one that's above it. And you would also understand from this that everything is mitzdaref with the se'es, but you don't have to say that that there's another av which has its tilde. No, there is no other av that has its tilde. There's only the se'es that has the tilde of krum beya, and that's it. And that se'es, everything is mitzdaref with the se'es. And then the krum beya, the way it works is from the lowest color to the colors above it, each one is only mitzdaref with the one above it. So what's the point the Gemara is saying here? From the conversation between Rabbi Shua ben Karcha and his father Rabbi Akiva, we could see that he held that the tziruf of the colors of the Negayim is always with the color that's above it, and not the way it says in the Mishnah, the Av and its Tilde, which is a different system. But the Gemara says, no, this lashon of this conversation is not necessarily a raya. V'dilma, maybe Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, when he asked his father the question, he didn't finish the full question, but he meant to say more. V'dilma se'ez v'tildasa, and ba'eres v'tildasa. He meant to say that you should say krum beya and what's above it, and the sida hechel, which is above it. Which means, like the order of the Mishnah, that there's a Av and its Tilde, the Av of the Beheres and its Tilde, and the Av of Seis with its Tilde. Elamai, as Rashi over here says, Rabbi Shua, when he asked his father this question, he just didn't finish off the whole point. He was expecting that it's self-understood. Like Rashi says the expression, do you have to elaborate on everything like a reichel, like a peddler that shows you this and shows you that? He's telling his father that it's not necessary to say the whole arichas of the colors the way the Mishnah describes. All you should say is the krum beya and what's above it, and the sida hechel and what's above it. That would be enough. But not necessarily does he disagree with the order of the Mishnah that it goes by Av and Tilde, and not in the order of the brightness of the white. So this is not a raya. The Gemara brings a different raya. Elamid Rab Chanina. The raya is from what Rab Chanina said according to Rabbi Akiva. Rab Chanina mashal the Rabbi Akiva lamad of the order of the Negayim and what is going to combine with what. So it's compared to the following. L'arba kaises shel chalav. You have 4 cups of milk in front of you. Echad into 1 cup of milk, naflu l'teicha shtei tippin shel dam. 2 drops of blood dropped into it. Ve'echad, another one, naflu l'teicha arba tippin shel dam. 4 drops of blood. Ve'echad naflu l'teicha shmeina. Then the next 8 drops of blood. And ve'echad naflu l'teicha shtei mesri tippin. 12 drops of blood fell into it. And va'amri la, and others say, sheish esri tippin. Because he's always doubling the amount of drops of blood that fall into it, so it's 16 drops of blood that fell into it. Shakulan maris loivenhain. These are all the appearances of the nega that are white. Each one is a little more white than the one that's below it. So here, in the way he's describing the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, he's describing that it goes by the order of the brightness. So it seems like he's saying. And that's how they combine with each other. Not by a Av and its Tilde and Av and its Tilde, which is not in the order of the brightness. But the Gemara says in this, that's not necessarily what Rabbi Chanina was talking about when he was explaining the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. When do we hear that Rabbi Akiva is saying this? And this mashal here that it says about the blood that got mixed into the milk for the color of the nega, bepasuch. It's a different type of nega. A nega that's white, but it has redness, streaks of redness mixed into it. In the pasuk where it says the colors of a nega, there's the regular colors of a nega which are white, but there's also a nega that has some adamdam. It's lashon of the pasuk. It has some streaks of white, of redness mixed into it. That's what this mashal of Rab Chanina was talking about. But b'chaluk, when it's pure white, Mishametlei, how do you know over there that it goes by this order of the brightness? Maybe this order of Zula Maila Mizu is only regarding that other types of Negayim. Now, if you'll argue and say that if I find regarding those Negayim that have redness mixed into it, that over there Rabbi Akiva says that the order of the colors goes by the order of how much redness is mixed into it, so So we could compare and say that similar he holds by a regular full white nega, that it goes by the order of the brightness. So maybe these two things are compared to each other. But the Gemara says, well, even regarding the nega that has redness mixed into it, pasuk gufe mishametle, is this actually true? That according to Rabbi Akiva, the colors of the nega, when there's some redness mixed into it, does it go over there according to the levels of the colors, as Rabbi Chanina described in his mashal, depending how many drops of blood dropped into the milk. That was the mashal that he gave. But Vatanya, or rather Vatnan, we learned in the Mishnah, this is the second Mishnah in Masechta Negayim, Rabbi Akiva says, Adamdam shebezeh v'shebezeh, the redness, the streaks of redness that there is in both of these colors of Negayim. He's talking about the two basic colors in the Torah, the Se'es and the Beheres and the Se'es. So both of them that have redness in it, that is also a sign of a not kosher, a tomid the Gemara, is what's that redness? Kiyayin hamozik b'mayim. The redness is like wine, but it's that wine that's diluted in water. Ella, the only difference is in the level of the whiteness. Shal beheres is azak keshelek. The whiteness of one is as white as snow. Vishal sid, and then the whiteness of the sid, which is lime, deya heimena. It's not as bright, it's less bright, and it's dimmer. And but they both, as far as the redness is concerned, that's mixed in. It's the same redness. It's like diluted wine. Now, what is the example that Rabbi Akiva over here says when he talks about the two negayim that are white? He gives the example of the beheres, which is as white as snow, and then he gives the next example that's white like lime. Why does he give do these two go together? If what we said before is true, that according to Rabbi Akiva, when we look at the whiteness of the negayim, it goes by the brightness. What's the next level in brightness after the snow? Tzemer, which is the se'es, not the sid. So why is Rabbi Akiva saying over here that it's lime? So the Gemara explains, if it's true what we said before, then shaltzemer deya himena, which is the one that is a little dimmer than the brightness of the snow. That's the one that's like wool. That's what he should have said. So the whole thing that we're bringing over there, Rabbi Akiva holds that it goes in the order of the brightness. Seemingly in this Mishnah we see that this is not true. So the Gemara says, you're right, and actually the Girsa in that Mishnah is different. Omri was said, and a chanami, it's not true. And Vatanya, we learned in the Braisa that Rab Nosson said, Loi she'amar Rabbi Akiva shall sid deya himena. Rabbi Akiva did not say that the next color that's after the whiteness of snow is the whiteness like lime, because that's its tilde and that's what it combines with. No, Ela shall tzemer deya himena. The next color that it combines with is like wool, which is a little dimmer than it. And that's the one that it combines with. So therefore, we see over here that Rabbi Akiva is saying this regarding the negayim that have some redness, which is like wine that's mixed into it, and he gave the colors in the order of first snow and then semer, according to the way the Gemara corrects the Gersa. So just like we see this, that he says this regarding the negayim that are pasach, that have redness mixed into it, it's the same regarding what the Gemara calls chaluk, even regarding the pure white negayim. According to Rabbi Akiva, it goes by the order of the brightness, not by av and its tilde. That's the conclusion of the source of Rabbi Akiva's opinion. Now the Gemara asks, what's b'chlal the source of this whole concept, the beheres azohi? That in the Torah it says two kinds of negayim, beheres and se'es. How do we know that beheres is brighter, is a stronger white? Amar Abaye, so Abaye says, Amakra, the pasuk says, V'im beheres levana hi. So the word he is extra. Hi levana, ve'en acheres levana. This is the one that's really fully bright in its whiteness, and nothing else is as brightly white as this. Tana Rabbanan Abraisa, we learned about this, beheres amuka. The color, the appearance of the whiteness of the beheres appears to be lower down when you're looking on the surface. And this is also what you see, it says in the pasuk by the Negayim, that the appearance of this whiteness seems to be deeper than the rest of the skin of the person. And this is where we see such a concept. Just like when you look at a surface and there's an area that's sunny and an area that's shady, so the area where the sun is shining appears to be lower than the place where the shade is. When something is brighter, or something that's actually darker seems to stick out more, something that's brighter is lower. That's with the beheres, it's called amuka because it's lower down, or it appears that way. Now, se'es, what does the word se'es mean? Ve'ein se'es ela gavoya. The word se'es means that it rises up, which means that the brightness of the white, it's not as white, and therefore it doesn't appear to be so deep as the bright white of beheres. How do we know the word se'es means this? The pasuk says, "Al kol ha'arim aramim," the high mountains, "Val kol hagvois hanisois," and the hills that are raised up. And that's the lashon of se'es over here, that the white is dimmer, so therefore it doesn't appear to be as deep as the beheres. And sapachas, when the pasuk says the term sapachas, what does this mean? Ein sapachas elo tefelo. The word sapachas means something that's like added on or secondary. The pasuk says, "Va'omar sapchenina," add me or bring me along. Now, in the lashon of the pasuk itself, how does it say it? It says v'la se'es, v'la sapachas, v'la behores. That's the order in the pasuk. So therefore the Gemara now asks, Ashkechon tfeilo l'se'es. We see in the pasuk that there's a tfeilo, there's a color which is secondary, which is a tilde for the se'es. Tfeilo lebeheres minalon. Where do we see in the pasuk that there's a color that's secondary to the beheres? It doesn't say the sapachas on the word beheres. Rab Zera says we compare them. Nemra levana b'se'es. The term levana on the Torah says regarding the se'es. V'nemra levana b'beheres, and it also says the term levana regarding the beheres. So ma levana ha'amura b'se'es yesh lo tefela, just like regarding the levana, the white color of the se'es has the sapachas, as it says clearly in the pasuk. Af levana ha'amura b'beheres, so to the whiteness that it says by beheres yesh lo tefela. It also has a tilde, a secondary color, which is a color like lime. That's the tilde of the beheres. But Masnita Tane, in a Braise, it said a different way. Another source of why we say that even for beheres there's a tilde. That because hitel hakosov l'sapachas bein se'es libaheres, when the Torah says v'la se'es, v'la sapachas, and then v'la baheres, it says the word sapachas between the two words of se'es and beheres, lo'imel to say kishem shetfeil l'se'es, kach tfeil l'beheres. There's a secondary color for the se'es and also for the beheres. So the word se'es doesn't only go on, the word sapachas doesn't only go on the se'es, it goes on both. And what did it say before regarding the color of the se'es? That se'es is kitzem elovan. The color of se'es is like the whiteness of the wool's sheep, the sheep's wool, that is. So says the Gemara, might sem elovan. What kind of a whiteness of the sheep's wool? Amar Avasi Tsemer Noki. We're talking about the clean wool ben yoimai, from the day that the sheep is born, mamish pure white. And what's done with this? What usually done with this is, on the day it's born, they cover it with this hide, and they snap it closed, that it should be protected, that it shouldn't get dirty, and from this they make very fine and special luxury wool garments, which is called kli milas. The Gemara brings a lot of times this very expensive wool. It's made from this white wool that they cover it on the day that it's born. That's the whiteness of this nega. Now going back to the opinions that were mentioned before regarding the shades of the colors of white, what's the order of the colors? So again, the two opinions, the opinion of the Mishnah in the beginning of Nagayim is that it goes by the Av and its tilde, each Av and its tilde, even though it's not in the order of the brightness. So that Rabbi Akiva said that it's in the order of the brightness. So Rabbi Chanina now explains what is the opinion of the Mishnah, the Rabbanon, that disagreed with Rabbi Akiva. Mashal the Rabbanon lama David Daimeh. What could we compare what Rabbi Akiva said regarding the order of the colors, what combines with what? So it could be compared, Letrei Malki, there are two kings, or Letrei Ifrichi, and then two governors. Malka Shalzeh, Lamaila mi Malka Shalzeh. This king is above the other king. There's like one king that's on a higher level than another king. And then the Ifrichi Shalzeh, and the governor of this one is Lamaila mi Ifrichi Shalzeh, is above the governor of the other king. That's the mashal for the four colors, the way it's the order, the way it is according to the Tana of the Mishnah, according to the Rabbanan. But the Gemara right away clarifies this and says, wait a minute, Hi, zeh l'mayla mizeh v'zeh l'mayla mizehu. The way you just described it is actually more like Rabbi Akiva, that there's the two avos that go together, and in the mashal there's one king, and then there's the next king that's below it, that's similar to the first king, but he's a level below the first king, and then the other two governors that go below it, that's not in the order of Av and its tilde. It's actually in the order of brightness, Elamayla Mizeh. So Ella, the mashal that Chanina said was, Malka Shalzeh Lamayla Me'ifrche de Nafshe. There's a king and his governor, they're in one category, even though the governor of this king is really on a lower level than that other king of a different country. But for this king, he's the governor that's serving under this king. And then there's another king which is on a lower level, and he has his governor. So too, each naga, the beheres has its tilde, the se'es has its tilde. It doesn't go by the orders of brightness. Each one is in their own category.
You don't mix them.
Right? It's correct. That's one mashal. Another mashal of Ada bar Ava Omar, Kogoin Malka, a king, va'al kafta. You have the king and then the al-kafta. There's different pirushim exactly what this al-kafta is. According to one shot, al-kafta is like a mishnah l'melech, like Paray and Yosef. In the Targum over there, it refers to Yosef as in the al-kafta. So you have the king and then the mishnah l'melech and then the rufila, which the rufila is some kind of important minister, and then the virej galusa. And then like you had when the Yidden were in Galus and Bavel, that was the Reish Galusa that was in control of the Yidden. So he's the lowest level. That's the mashal for the order of the Negayim for the Rabbanan. Again, the Gemara clarifies this. In this order, it's actually more like Rabbi Kiva. Hi, zeh l'mayla mizeu. Over here, the order is actually one above the other. He's starting with the king, and then the second to the king, and then the minister, and then the Reish Galusa. That's in the order of brightness, if you would say it by a nega. Ella, so rather the mashal for the Chachamim is Kagayim Malke Virufila. There's the king and his minister or his general. Rufila is some kind of a minister or a general that belongs to this king. So that, even though the Rufila is really a level lower than the Al-Kafta, but this is the king and his general. And then the Al-Kafta, then there's another kind of a king, or a second to the king, a different king, V'reish Galusa, and the one that's serving under him, the one that's answerable to him. So therefore, these are two different categories, like the Rabbanan said regarding the colors of the Negayim. Rava says that the two avos of the Negayim are Kagoyin Shvar Malke, which was the Persian king, and then the Caesar. And the Caesar, the Roman Caesar, there are two different kings which have each what's below them, who serves them. Same with the Negayim, there's the Seis and the Beheres, which are the two avos that have the colors below them. Amalei Rav Papa Rava, when Rava said this example of the king of the king of Persia, or the Roman emperor, so he said first, what did he mention first? Shvar Malka. So Rav Papa asks Rava, Hai Menayo Odif, who is more powerful? Is the king in Persia more powerful, or is the Roman emperor more powerful? Amalei, so Rava said to Rav Papa, why asking such a question? Is this a person that lives in the forest and eats and doesn't know what's going on in the world? It's obvious. In those times, the Roman emperor, the Roman kingdom was the most powerful kingdom in the whole world. It's not something, Puk Chazit Tiva the man Sagi Baalma. Go and see whose name or whose rulership is greater in the world. And the Chsiv, you also see this in the pasuk where it says, V'teichol kol arev v'tadeshna v'tadakna, that they are going to eat the entire land and they will crush and break everything to very thin pieces. And this is the extent of the rulership. And who is this referring to? Amar Rabbi Yochanan Zu Raimi. This pasuk is speaking about the Roman kingdom, Chayeves, which was actually a wicked kingdom, Shetiva Yatza B'chal Olam Kulai, that its name and its rulership is in the entire world. So Rav Papa was wondering, Rava that is, was wondering why did Rav Papa ask this question. But the reason he asked this question is because Rava mentioned first Shvar Malka. He first mentioned the Persian king. And the reason why he mentioned the Persian king first is because Rava lived under Persian rulership. So he didn't want to mention the Roman before the Persian because he lived by the Persians. Okay, so to Gemara Ravina Omar. One more mashal, the Gemara says for the order of the Negayim, according to the Rabbanon, that it does not go by the order of the brightness, but rather it's a Avan. It's told Kogoin, Glima de Amar, Vishachake. You have the garment, a wool garment, a nice white wool garment, and then what is in the category that belongs to it? The other woolen garments that are already worn out. And then Sadina de Kitna, you have a sheet that's made from flax or from linen, v'shachake, and then what's worn out that belongs to it. And that over here as well, when you look at the two Negayim, these are two different categories, the Beheres and its Toilda, and the Se'ez and its Toilda, not in the order of the brightness like Rabbi Kiva said.